This is Liechtenstein's idea of how to celebrate a national holiday. Not terribly different to the UK. A garden party, the royal family on display, a rather familiar tune, and of course a hefty dose of national pride.
The people, I think, are happy. We have a wonderful nature all around here. So I would say it's one of the best countries to live in.
The country is so tiny, everybody knows everybody. It sounds like a cliche, but in a sort, it's true.
Liechtenstein clearly has a lot to recommend it. Glorious weather, beautiful scenery, and quite a catchy national anthem. But from the UK's point of view, the country also has something else going for it. Liechtenstein, like Norway, is part of the single market through its membership of the European Economic Area. But the country also has a tightly controlled quota system for immigration. Now that's a combination that some in Europe claim is impossible, that the four freedoms of people, goods, capital and services can't be detached from each other. So is this reason to celebrate? An example to point to as the UK starts the long and complicated process of extricating itself from the EU?
The important thing, I think, is it's not specifically Liechtenstein. What they are doing is adopting what are known technically as safeguard measures, which then brought them a treaty change. But it doesn't just apply to Liechtenstein. This is not specifically a Liechtenstein solution. And when the EEA was first set up, there were actually 4 countries which took advantage of these provisions.
How Liechtenstein ended up in this special situation isn't entirely straightforward. Originally, back in the 1990s, it negotiated a side deal with the EEA, allowing it to impose restrictions on immigration. Later, it invoked something called Article 112, or safeguard measures, effectively allowing those restrictions to continue. Later still, it negotiated a change to the agreement, establishing its quota system, under which less than 100 people each year get a new residence permit in Liechtenstein. The measures are reviewed every 5 years, but in effect, they're permanent. There are some subtle differences between Liechtenstein and the UK. The UK's population is about 1,750 times larger. Its GDP is much bigger, and Liechtenstein is about half the size of the Isle of Wight.
And we have only 37,000 inhabitants. So you see, it's really a small country. And for that, we need the control of the immigration. Without control, we had a lot of people, a lot of aliens here in Liechtenstein, and that would be a big problem for Liechtenstein.
So it's not clear that the UK will get an invitation to Liechtenstein's party. It's starting from a very different position, and that's one reason to question whether the model would work for the UK.
It doesn't set a legal precedent, given that the provisions under which Liechtenstein has been able to negotiate this situation is one under the EEA agreement, of which the UK is not yet a member. When we're talking about political precedent, I'm sure that Theresa May might mention Liechtenstein's situation when negotiating, but there's absolutely no reason to believe that the EEA members would give a concession such as this one to the UK, given that its demographic, social and economic situation is so different.
The Prime Minister doesn't think the same deal will be on offer.
Yeah, I think nowadays it would be also impossible for Liechtenstein to realize such a solution. 20 years ago it was different, but I think when we would today negotiate such a solution, it wouldn't be possible. And you see the discussions in Switzerland, also in UK. Free movement is one of the pillars of the EU, and it's quite difficult to get a special situation there.
The mechanics of how the UK could replicate Liechtenstein's position also aren't clear. We'd need to join both the European Free Trade Association and the EEA. Other members could block that happening. But some in Liechtenstein think the UK has scope to negotiate.
I think it's possible, especially since Britain is outside of the EU, and whether you find a mechanism like being a member of the EEA or yet another concept is open. It's open for negotiation. And I would think that with this Brexit and the pressure from other EU countries, that this immigration issue has to be changed. And it can only be solved with changes. With that, I think that plays into the hands of Britain.
Embracing Liechtenstein's model wholesale may prove complicated, but its unique situation could prove an illuminating example. The UK will be looking for any chance to ensure negotiations with Europe start with a bang.